Yes, hello. I am James Rowlands, and today it's the Wnr331. We are looking at Impact No Surrender 2021, and I have the pleasure to be joined by the Ultimate One. How you doing, man?
I'm doing great, man. Just another day in New York City. Things are opening up here little by little. We had a good weekend of wrestling, and definitely ready to talk about this No Surrender pay-per-view and the AEW stuff that happened last week. So I'm ready.
Well, without a doubt, we are doing back-to-back shows for the very first time, so it's quite interesting to see how it's working. But like I said, there's been so much wrestling in a huge weekend that the WNR's covering. Of course, No Surrender on the Saturday night and Takeover on the Sunday. But we're going to focus, like I said, on Impact and AEW. And last time we had left it, Kenta was shocking the world. But we start with Impact's Go Home show, and of course that's the 9th of February. We had a great 8-man tag to start. Miguel, Alexander, Max Suicide, Austin Bay, Davari, Christian will all be in the triple threat revolver at No Surrender. Trey got the win for his team. We see Kimberly picking up a win over ODB. Jazz and Grace attacked, and this leads to a 6-women tag being announced for No Surrender as well, with Grace, Jazz, ODB versus Lee Pratzo and Susan. And then we see Cousin Jake didn't want to stand with Violent by Design. He wants to be Jake something, but he could be someone versus Dina at No Surrender. And then we see another paid avatar, Tony Khan, saying what the Forbidden Door was, and it be open. And it was Tony Khan all along was actually behind the Forbidden Door. Now you can experience Impact Wrestling, NJPW, and every company with AEW as well. What surprises does Khan have in store? Find out next time. What do you think about that? Because we were talking about the Forbidden Door. What does it actually mean? Because, of course, Tony Khan's talking about it now. But the impact, these three companies actually working together at this point in time.
Just to give a little history here now, we all know that New Japan and Impact, they had a working relationship in, I said it was 2007 and 2008. Okada came in as a young lion. And then the history of that. New Japan didn't like the way they treated him. That after that closed the door permanent. Actually, probably permanent. Yeah, for a while. New Japan didn't want to work with Impact. So now they talk about the Forbidden Door. The Forbidden Door was pretty much, AEW started. There was rumors going around that the Young Bucks didn't want to work with New Japan anymore because either they were not getting paid correctly or whatever the case. And the Omega situation where the president over there, Howard, whatever his name, Mensch, whatever his name he had, he didn't like Omega, and then Tanahashi was behind the scene playing politics. Omega's title reign didn't last long. So now we had two companies, AEW, who had just started, and then you had Impact, who already had issues with New Japan, and New Japan being the biggest promotion in Japan, and they were looking, ways to get into the U.S. market. I mean, that open door. They were like, well, in order for you to get to you will have to work with a company here in the United States. And Ring of Honor was the only one that they were working with here in the United States. And Ring of Honor was already suffering because the talent they had left from Ring of Honor to create AEW. So they had no choice, first of all. They allowed, I remember Moxley signed with AEW. They had some type of deal where he could work in Japan, but then AEW didn't want Moxley working with New Japan in the United States. Then, of course, Impact pretty much bought Access Channel here in America, and then at that time Access was having New Japan in their channel. They took them out, so it was like a lot of animosity between these two companies and New Japan. At the end, it worked out. Tony Khan probably figured, well, you know what, let's work something out with them, because first of all, Jon Moxley is the IWGP US champion, and that's the New Japan title. So, with the pandemic and all that stuff, now we're here. We need this guy to defend the belt. He hasn't defended the belt for over a year. So at the end of the day, everybody came together. I mean, like I said, at the end of the day, the one that really pretty much gets the most out of it is Impact, because now you have New Japan wrestlers coming in, and New Japan wrestlers could come in working Impact. Impact will go to AEW and wrestle. AEW wrestlers will go to AEW. So, is the forbidden door is open now. You got all this exchange of talent, or they could show up, whatever, and it's good for wrestling.
But is it, like we talk about with a shoot in a way, as in, is it Tony Khan that's kind of controlling it at the moment? Are Impact kind of going through him and his connections with New Japan, or is there kind of, people working behind the scenes as well? Obviously,
I think maybe Tony Khan, being that before he's an owner of AEW, before he's part of the Jacksonville Jaguars, he is a wrestling fan, a long time wrestling fan. So he probably looked at it in the wrestling perspective. Maybe he was behind the scene negotiating with New Japan. Remember, Jericho has a good relationship with Geto. Ghetto's the guy, the book over there. He's the one who controls everything over there. He's the guy who, with the Bullet Club thing, whatever. So Ghetto and Jericho has a long history. So I'm sure Jericho has something to do with it also. Probably Jericho was the lifeline between New Japan and Tony Khan. Tony Khan did mention, he did say there was going to be some type of shift in professional wrestling. Impact, again, Don Callis is another guy. Don Callis has, he called himself the Invisible Hand, but he's another guy who has worked with New Japan, has a good relationship with New Japan. And once I saw Don Callis come in and kind of like trying to take over Impact or behind the scenes, whatever, I was like, it won't be long before New Japan tries to work something with Impact. But Tony Khan being in the middle, I think he has something to do with it. There's other people involved in it that did not mention it, but I'm sure Jericho was one of them.
I think without doubt, and I think we'll move on, obviously, in a second, but it also helps with the talent involved, like we talk about with the Good Brothers on Impact, and of course Kenny Omega and the connection with the Young Bucks and everybody in New Japan as well. So the kind of talent's not going to be like, oh, we don't want to work with them. If the opportunity's there, they go, well, yeah, of course we want to work with these guys because either we know them or we've always wanted to, So I think it's a great situation.
Yeah. I mean, again, the ones who come out winning out of everything is the wrestling fans, because there's so many. I mean, me and you, the last time I was in your show, we talk about fantasy booking. So many opportunities, so many different matches that could be put together, so many storylines. You get, like I said, you could have guys like Bullet Club, Tama Tonga, and Tonga Loa, the Gorillas Destiny, just show up at AEW and probably attack Kenny Omega because they want to be, no, we're the real Bullet Club. So many opportunities. Same thing with Impact. Impact right now, there's rumors in New Japan. I think this week coming up, New Japan wrestlers will be showing up, and that's a big deal. That's a very big deal, because the last time a New Japan pro wrestler was an actor in an Impact TV was back in 2007, 2006, something like that. I mean, it was a long time. I mean, it was, I think the Tokyo Pimp, Takahashi and Naito were a tag team called No Limits. That's how long it's been. Long time ago.
Well, talking about President A and the Impact Tag Team Champions, the Good Brothers, were promo backstage saying they plan to beat up Storm and Sabin in tonight's main event, predicting the end of tonight's match along with No Surrender bout against Private Party and Magic Killer, a 1, 2, 3 and a 2. Sweet. And then we see Fire and Flavor. They've been on a losing streak since winning the titles, and Leviah and Havoc will get their shot on Saturday. And then Decay have had problems with Caleb with a K. Black Taurus, or Taurus as they were saying, debuted. He's with AAA. He absolutely destroyed them. Tenille Dashwood wasn't happy, and to make it worse, has to team with a jobber team, Triple XL versus Decay. Have you seen any of Black Taurus or any of AAA wrestling?
Black Taurus, I know about him because I did see him wrestle, I think, in Triple Mania last year. So he's pretty, he's very agile for his size. So I have followed Black Taurus. I was surprised that he joined Decay. I mean, he doesn't add up to him. I mean, even though that mask looks creepy, but he's one guy that as big and brolic he is, and well, he's not that big, but he looks like real brolic, like he can move in that ring.
Well, the Chris Sabin and James Storm versus Carl Anderson, and of course Luke Gallows, or Doc Gallows as he is now, the main event happened. And this was quite a good match between both teams. And just as it was getting heated up, we see the Good Brothers were distracted by appearance of Matt Hardy and Private Party, allowing James Storm to make tag and light up Anderson and Gallows. He would have got the pin, but Private Party broke it up and it ended in a disqualification. And backstage, Big Money Matt and Private Party were celebrating their moves tonight. But Scott D'Amore said that instead at No Surrender, it will be a triple threat tag team match for the Impact World titles, with the team of James Storm and Chris Sabin being added. Now, does that dilute the match, or does that make you more excited for it? Because obviously we had the Good Brothers versus Private Party, and now with Storm and Sabin. I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
The Private Party did interfere in the match, and they just made it better, and now they have to rely on it because they could have had that one-on-one situation with the Good Brothers, but I mean, it adds a little flavor in it though, because now you got two tag teams that have a lot of experience, and then now you got this green, I call them green because they still got a lot of work to do. They got this green, stuck up tag team with their manager who thinks he's the one who invented tag team, and it made it exciting, because now you really want to see Private Party lose. If you're a fan of Impact and you're in the bubble Impact, now you want these outsiders from AEW coming in trying to win the belts. You want them to lose. They don't care who wins, if it's Storm and Sabin or the Good Brothers. They just want to see them lose.
And then we had the Dreamer and Swan contract signing. It was interrupted by Moose. D'Amore threatened to suspend Moose indefinitely if he interfered on Saturday. Moose said he didn't need to. He already beat Tommy Dreamer and he knew he could beat Swan. Dreamer was furious, brought up some texts he received after the match at Slammiversary. Dreamer took Moose to the limit last summer, and even though Moose seemed to be more focused now, still didn't understand. Tommy Dreamer wrestled and continues to wrestle to push the younger generations to test their limits. At No Surrender, he'll do it when he takes Rich Swann to the limit and captures the Impact Wrestling World Championship. I think really good work there by Tommy Dreamer. But all I kept thinking was you and just going, Moose is going to kill him.
Oh, yeah. Moose, I'm telling you, and Moose, it's crazy because this is a guy who I follow when he first came into Ring of Honor, and how green he was, and he wasn't mobile as good as he is now. This is like an upgraded version of Moose. It's like 3.0, not 2.0, 3.0. This guy, I mean, I saw him in Hard to Kill, and it's funny because I haven't seen him wrestle in so long. When I saw him in Hard to Kill, I was like, how can this guy not be the next Impact World Champion? And he's gonna kill Swan. I think Swan might be able to get a couple of probably some high offense on him, whatever, but I see Moose becoming a world champion. He's the guy who's gonna unify those belts together and become the undisputed Impact World Champion. If they don't, then I gotta ask myself, what is Impact thinking? You cannot. Like I said, Rich Swann, I do not see him as a world champion.
The thing is, though, with Impact is, like, I've only started watching it week in, week out this year because obviously it's low of, you talk about wrestling fans' priorities. Impact's probably not that high up. But one thing it has done, it has delivered a good show every week. There's not one show I've watched and I thought, there's always been a little bit of something. It would be the storylines coming through and, of course, leading up to the event. So Impact's kind of impressed me. But then again, maybe the bar wasn't set as high as maybe it would be for other companies, if that's fair,
Yeah, I mean, right now, Impact could take the advantage and make this man a world champion. And again, the opportunities are there, are endless. You go and you put this guy against, make him a world champion. And like I said, the Infinity Gauntlet situation with the Omega being the world champion, trying to be the belt collector. You have a match between Omega versus Moose. That's money. People are going to want to watch that on pay-per-view. I mean, why not? I mean, you got one guy who's improved so well-rounded in every level, and for a big guy, for what he was doing in Hard to Kill, he reminds me of a Lance Archer, even though Lance Archer's been in the business a little longer, and he does crazy moves, but moves is showing that at almost 7 feet, this guy could go, and him at an Omega match, it will be, oh my goodness, it will be money.
Well, that is Impact, and of course our main event of the podcast will be coming back for No Surrender. But of course we follow AEW as well, and we've got Dynamite, and of course the next time we'll be doing the podcast together will be AEW Revolution, which feels like the build for that has been going on for a very long time. So let's see how this week's Dynamite went. And the show opened with the intro video, obviously. Then we had Darby Allin versus Joey Janela for the AEW TNT Championship. We talked about last time Joey not deserving a shot, but this wasn't a bad match. We see Janela hitting a wicked power driver and setting him up. But unfortunately for him, Allin managed to hit the coffin drop and retain the TNT Championship. I think it was quite a good start to Dynamite. What were your thoughts on the match?
Well, listen, that match was pretty good because these two are familiar with each other. The only thing that I found disappointing was the ending, because remember the week before, Taz was talking about, oh, we're gonna show up and we're gonna do, and Sting was like, well, I'm gonna be there. I'm gonna make sure the match is gonna go fair and square. And the match was pretty good. It was decent. I mean, you got two guys here that they known for their relentless, high-risk moves. And Darby Allin, at one point I saw him, he did a two-play suicide, and he was like, it was like a rocket launcher, and hit Janela. But there was these two guys who already are, like I said, they are familiar with each other, whatever. The thing that disappointed me was, I was like, okay, maybe Taz comes out now with his team and they beat the crap out of Darby Allin, and nothing happened. And I was like, okay, now what? So it led me wanting more as far after the match, but that kind of changed afterward as the show progressed.
I think that's an excellent point, because if it was WWE, maybe people would have said, oh, look, it's them kind of doing that again. But these are the types of things Dynamite and AEW got to be careful of, because those little inconsistencies that kind of build up, and then, it gets kind of big, and they think, well, let's just either switch this or change this, because the fans not really paying attention. And like I said, if you're spending time to spend 2 hours watching a show the previous week, you're thinking, well, at least carry that on. Obviously, in WWE, the biggest thing recently was Ricochet not qualifying for the Rumble and being in the Rumble match. But, Dynamite kind of don't want to go down that road, do they,
Yeah, because it's like again, I said it on my show, the good thing about AEW is they leave cliffhangers. And we talked about that the last time I was in your show about cliffhangers. You leave cliffhangers, and then the following week, we as fans go and see it, and then it doesn't turn out what we thought it was going to happen. It kind of is like a letdown, But like I said, it was a little letdown. The match was good, but that changed as the show progressed.
Yeah, it was a nice German catch by Janela. Darby is good to watch, and again, like I said, a good match. Then we see Jon Moxley cutting a promo outside. He said Kenny Omega's been talking trash and looking like a dork for months now. And last week was no surprise to him. The time for cheap talk is over, and if Kenta wants the IWGP United States Heavyweight Championship, he's going to have to come get it February 26th at New Beginning USA. But that was the sanction match. It's 90 teams for a guy that's tried to kill him multiple times in an unsanctioned match just for fun. Folks, yeah. I think Moxley, fantastic promo. He's kind of that swagger and confidence is back that maybe went away towards the end of his reign. And I just can't wait for the match.
It was what really was interesting about that promo, that they actually allowed Moxley to show that United States belt that doesn't belong to AEW. So that I was like, wow, he actually has the IWGP United States title with him. So that was cool. And Moxley with a belt makes it more interesting, because you don't know what you're gonna get from him. The guy's he's crazy, he's a nut, but it makes it interesting. But again, we were talking about the Forbidden Door. The Forbidden Door is wide open. He kicked that shit in, and it's like, it's wide open. So again, I'm just looking forward to watching the next AEW Dynamite, but see what happens.
Well, backstage, Sammy wanted a word alone with MJF. MJF thought Sammy was jealous, but he just hates Chris Jericho's guts and wants to be leader. Guevara mockingly it, and MJF says exactly what he wanted to hear and picks up his phone. Guerrero immediately freaks out, asks who's been recording him, and throws the phone against the wall and cheaps up Friedman to send us to a break. Obviously, that would lead on to a little bit later. Our next match was Cesar Bononi and Peter Avalon versus Nightmare Family, Cody and Lee Johnson. Johnson got the hot tag and hit a beautiful corkscrew to the floor, and then he got the schoolboy pin to pick up his very first win. We see Schiavone afterwards. He said after a year of losing, he's lost for words. He was 0-29. He likes to thank his trainers and says the Rose family is his family alone. They did that. Cody and Dustin raise his hand. I don't know what you thought about that, but I thought, well, it shows that a victory actually means something, in AEW.
Yeah, but there's bigger storyline to that, because I don't know if you saw it, that Lee Johnson, first of all, before I get to my point, Lee Johnson has improved big time from the first time I seen him wrestle, and his first match was against Warlow. I remember that, and this is when the pandemic had started, and they were showing AEW Dynamite looked like dark. I remember him wrestling Warlord. Now, you go in the ring with Warlord, you're not gonna get much output because the guy's a beast, and I seen him in other matches where he gained squash, whatever, and I saw what he had on this match, on this tag team match, and I like what they did, because it's more like Cody not worried about himself. He's trying to get the younger talent over. Same guys, the same thing with the other guys who were the opponent, Peter Avalon, the other guy, Cesar Bonani, whatever his name is. So Lee Johnson getting his first win was, shows you that, okay, these guys are ready to push him. He got a contract with AEW already. But if you notice when when they interviewed him, he gave thanks to Cody and he gave thanks to Dustin. He even thanked Brandy. Look in the back, if you get to see it again, QT Marshall looked at him like, what? You're not giving me my props? So there's going to be a feud between him and QT Marshall. Marshall is going to be the guy who probably is going to turn on the Nightmare family, and he's going to attack Lee Johnson. It's going to happen. Because this was all over the internet. They show him with this look like, what? You didn't give me my props? QT Marshall was one of the guys who's been training him. So it's going to be interesting, because there's a storyline right there. You're going to be like, okay, let's see what's going to happen next week. Is QT Marshall going to team up with him? Is he going to turn on him? That's a storyline you want to keep following up.
Yeah, that's an excellent spot. And then we get an interview from the Young Bucks. The Good Brothers roll up before they can say anything and cry about the ratings. They pop. The Bucks want to address the problem. The Good Brothers interfering in the Battle Royal, saying if they'd won it, they would have picked Gallows and Anderson as a challenge. Anderson and the Gallows spin thing, so at the inner circle, the Bucks' biggest problem. And they issue a challenge to Santina and Ortiz for the titles next week. Good Brothers offer up a 2-sweet. Matt wants to keep it private, but Nick is willing to go for it as we go to a break. And then back from commercial, Hangman Adam Page's interview backstage. He waves off the idea of tagging with Matt Hardy. And Matt, I actually laughed out loud with this bit, because Matt's saying, come on, just come to a bar. And Adam's like, okay, let's go. And as he gets up, you see the Dark Order there. It's Silver, who always, go, oh, hi Adam, no, that's fine, and it's just so awkward that it's actually funny, but we talk about, Adam Page having a decision to make. Obviously, we'll see that a little bit later as well. But I thought it was great.
It's getting interesting. It's getting very interesting, because like I said last time, the Dark Order is still in the picture. You know what I'm saying? And also, I look at everything on some of these promos, on these little segments, because I want to look at body language. I want to look at if anybody gave a crazy look. Same thing. You saw Anna Jay was not happy that the guy stopped to talk to him, and Anna Jay was like, "What? Why are you even talking to him?" So obviously we're gonna see what happens with that later on.
Our next match was Pac versus Ryan Nemeth. Pac with a stomp that about near kills Nemeth right out the gates. Snap suplex, missile drop. Ryan tries his best to get back in, even hitting a big DDT, a la his brother Dolph. But this is Pac's match to lose. Pac wins by submission with the brutalizer. What are your thoughts on this?
This was probably to push Pac even much deadlier than he is already. Even though Ryan Nemeth, for whatever his name is, he did that spike power drive, spike DDT, and it was good. And I think it was the only offense he did, because the rest of the match, Pac just brutalized this guy. He just beat the crap out of him. It was just like, he was just a jobber for the night.
Well, Nemeth has impressed in his role in the little bits that I've seen him, but I mean, after Pac, he's just looking like a main eventer, and I'm just hoping he gets his opportunity down the road as it was. And I think, he's had a lot of misfortune these past couple of years, and if he can just have an injury-free, COVID-free, maybe a little bit, just a run, I think this time next year he can find himself in a great position. And we get a recap of last week's wedding of Kip Sabian and Penelope Ford. And then backstage, Jericho, Hager, Wardlow interviewed. Jericho's ready for his match, and he's sure MJF will be ready when he rolls up with his ribs taped. That actually made me laugh a little bit as well with Santana and Ortiz. MJF explains what happened and says Sammy Guevara is a maniac. Jericho said he'll take care of it later as they make their entrance. Of course, it's the Inner Circle versus the Acclaimed. Inner Circle got an inset promo with MJF running down. Carter eliminated MJF last week in the Battle Royal. We'll see MJF selling the ribs early, and Acclaimed had control, but then some heel work for the number one team in the Inner Circle. But Bowens managed to get the hot tag, hit a plancher, but MJF steps aside. Jake Hager shoves Case off the top and into Jericho's path into a Judas effect. What are your thoughts on this? Because I was surprised. I thought it was a good match, but the Acclaimed have won 11 out of their 13 tag team matches, and think very highly of them.
Well, I think they're trying to push them too. I don't know. That's what I'm saying. They came up, they got a title shot. They were like this hottest tag team. They won like 8 in a row, and now they up in the roster, losing matches. But you knew they were not going to beat Jericho and MJF, especially the fact that MJF and Jericho are the number one contenders for the AEW tag team. And it's interesting because you mentioned when the Young Bucks challenged Proud and Powerful for the tag, they gave him a shot. They're giving them a shot next week for the tag team title. And it's interesting that all these problems are going on in the Inner Circle. Now, here's something that I thought when I saw these guys win the match against Acclaim. I'm like, would it be something if Proud and Powerful ends up dethroning the Young Bucks, and then Double or Nothing or whatever? No, what's the next one? Revolution. You have Jericho and MJF against Santana and Ortiz for the AEW tag team titles, and that will put more of a crack in the Inner Circle. That's already, these guys are about to break up. It's going to implode sooner or later, but but the interesting part, it was the thing of after the match. I'll let you have.
Well, I was about to say about that, the interesting thing about Santana and Ortiz getting the victory, Good Brothers could cost the Bucks, and then at Revolution you can have the Impact titles on the line, Young Bucks versus the Good Brothers if they want to as well.
Yeah,
so,
that crossed my mind too, because I mean, won't you want to watch the Young Bucks versus the Good Brothers one-on-one on Revolution, one of their biggest pay-per-view? Of course you do. I mean, but it is also, if you want to make another tag team situation interesting, MJF, Jericho with Proud and Powerful, the tag team champions. I mean, Proud and Powerful deserves those tag belts. That's what I'm saying. The Young Bucks can get those belts back.
Like I say, you can have both matches at the pay-per-view, one for the Impact, one for the AEW titles, and it would work great guns. But like you said, afterwards, Sammy Guevara came to the ring. Jericho asked what his problem is, and Sammy said he's told him on December 9th, right here on Dynamite, that if one more thing happened with MJF, he was done. So he's out here to tell him he's done. Jericho asked him what he means, and Guevara said he's quit the Inner Circle. Sammy leaves the ring and heads to the back while Jericho himself, and we go for a break. Back from commercial, Guevara's interviewed on his way out to the arena. He said he just needs time away from here. What are your thoughts on this?
I mean, it's now, you know what? This is going to be good because now you don't know when Sammy Guevara is back. So is he going to show up at Revolution unexpected? Is he taking a break? But again, that leaves a cliffhanger because now we're going to see if Mr. MJF is going to be happy that Sammy Guevara is not there, or is this a plot for the Inner Circle to take out Jericho as the leader of Inner Circle? Because if you notice that all this thing is happening, and it could show you that Chris Jericho is losing control of the leadership of the group. So all this infighting, all this implosion, who's the number one tag team, and now Sammy goes attack MJF. So pretty much the story shows that Jericho is losing control of the group. So now there's two questions: is they're trying to take out Jericho out of, as his leader, or MJF just wanted to get rid of Sammy Guevara, and pretty much he did, because now Sammy Guevara just walked out of the group. But again, this is what I love, the cliffhangers, because now you want to watch it the following week.
And then we cut to Matt Hardy and Hangman Adam Page drinking together. Hardy had a great time. He knows Page doesn't want to be a tag team, but he thinks he can dominate and be the guy. He can make him millions and millions for just 30% of his earnings. You can see Page has knocked a few back, as it were. And Matt Hardy's thrown his drinks to the floor. Then he gets out the contract out of his pocket, out of his jacket, tossing it to Page. Page signs it, and Matt tells the camera that he needs a record of this when he sobers up. And he signs the contract. And at that point, I thought, oh, hang on a minute, Page is going to do something like, I'm not really drunk, I know what's going on, or have, like maybe a reveal. But instead, I know he was drunk, but he came across as a bit of an idiot. I don't know what you thought about this. I know it's about big money Matt, but I think Page as a character just looked a bit stupid.
Well, yeah, they tried. I don't know. I think they're trying to make him look like he was drunk, he was stupid, he didn't know what he was doing. I think this is all Hangman Page setting up Matt Hardy. Maybe he signed it, but he really didn't sign his name. He put some other body's name. It could go that route, or he could be in a situation where he doesn't want to be with Matt Hardy because he signed his contract while he was drunk, and the Dark Order is trying to rescue him out of Matt Hardy's grasp. And now you have Private Party and Matt Hardy feuding with the Dark Order. I mean, there's a lot of, stuff here, a lot of material to work with,
Yeah, and it kind of happened. We were kind of waiting for it, and then all of a sudden, it kind of, happened on this episode. You're thinking, I wasn't really ready. I don't know if I was ready for that kind of thing. Or it's obviously they're building up towards Revolution, but with Matt kind of taking control now.
Yeah, but it's great, though, because it's like when you saw Matt Hardy trying to team up with Hangman Page, you saw it coming. You already knew that Hardy was going to find some way or the other to try to get Hangman Page to be part of his group. Now, the question is, I know that Private Party was, I know one of the, I think it was in BTE, I don't remember what I say, are you playing us? Are you having it's like you're having an affair with another wrestler. We're number one priority. So by him being greedy, can there be an implosion there where these guys feel, well, wait a minute, you're supposed to be taking care of us. Why are you worrying about Hangman Page? So that's another shit. It's so many stuff there that could happen. Dark Order might try to rescue Hangman Page. Private Party may not be happy that Hangman Page isn't part of the group. And I know Hangman Page Private Party had issues in the past before he lost the tag team belts with Omega. So again, AEW is about long-term booking. So, like I said, I'm enjoying this.
Well, we see Tony Schiavone interviewing Sting. Taz and Will Hobbs interrupt, saying they have a passenger and they're going on a road trip to FTW World. The camera pans with arcs of Brian Cage zipping Darby Allin in a body bag tied behind the car. They drive off. Sting gives chase, and we go to a break. And this makes your point of Sting protecting Darby Allin in his championship match. Well, he's not even going to protect him in the car park. So,
did it make? Let me ask you. Did it make sense to you, that segment?
No.
It didn't, because you waited almost close to an hour and a half for you to then interview Sting, and then they showed Team Taz dragging Darby Allin in a body bag. And I'm saying, wait a minute, you could have done this in the first match. You could have him beat up, put him in a body bag, and drag his ass down the parkway, and then Sting may try to save him. But they waited for almost an hour and a half. So something in there didn't make sense. Whoever decided to do this segment or whatever, it didn't make sense. This is why I got disappointed in the beginning, because then it made me even more disappointed when I saw that part where now this guy is getting dragged in a body bag and Sting's trying to save him. But how are you going to save him? He's getting dragged in a parking lot. So it makes no sense.
Or even have Tony Schiavone interviewing Sting after the match, after Darby Allin's defended, and have him taking Darby Allin away, and Sting going, oh, hang on a minute, Tony, I was talking to you, and they've just taken him. But instead, anyway, back for commercial, we see footage from Kenny Omega earlier today being interviewed on a golf course, and we see, like I said, the Don Callis putting the ball in the hole. But Don Callis was putting the ball in the hole for Kenny Omega, because Omega was saying what a great shot that was, and he looked round, and like he said, the invisible hand was doing his job for him. And then we get Thunder Rose getting the
invisible hand.
Thunder Rose getting their promo, and then at her entrance, and she says she hears to win the WA title back and take Britt Baker out. And we get Layla Hirsch versus Thunder Rosa for the AEW Women's World Championship tournament. Quickly, AEW has announced that the Japanese side of the AEW Women's Title Eliminator tournament will air on YouTube, and it came out on Monday. As you're listening to this now, all 4 matches: Yuki Sakazaki versus Mai Saruga, Vini versus Emi Sakura, Maki Ito versus Ryo Mizuma, and Aya Kong versus Rin Kadukuka will take place on the same broadcast. Queen Adib versus Rio, and Rio's first match in 11 months. But back to this, we saw Hirsch last time out. She was quite impressive, but unfortunately this is all about Rosa, who put her feet up, deadlift Layla for the powerbomb, scoot lift, and a set-out Michinoku driver gets the victory. Not a bad match, bigger ones ahead, but I think Thunder Rosa impresses me every time I see her.
Yeah, Thunder Rosa, I always say that when she's in that ring, she knows what she's doing. She knows the psychology of the match. Layla Hirsch, she's pretty good. She's well-grounded and everything, but she still, I think her timings was a little off. Maybe the chemistry wasn't 100%, but the match was pretty good. I mean, there was one part, I know Layla went up the rope, and I think she went for, a moonsault, and Thunder Rosa went to hit her, and she took off from the ropes. And I was like, okay, there goes the bodge. But you know what? As they get used to each other, as far as wrestling each other, they'll get better. The match wasn't bad at all. I mean, it wasn't like, oh my God, she did a botch, it's horrible. It was pretty good. I mean, I got Thunder Rosa winning the whole thing. So unless something happens and she meets up Britt Baker in the finals or the semifinals and she loses, I don't see anybody there. Probably Serena Deebs may be one of the top 4 in the USA side. I don't want to see Riho win nothing. I'm sorry. But that woman should not be in that tournament on the American side. I'm sorry. They're playing favoritism, and I don't like it.
We get Tony Schiavone doing a sit-down interview with Jungle Boy Jack Perry. The good news is Marco Stunt is okay after FTR kidnapped him last week. There is a sure lot of kidnappings in AEW at this moment in time, but he's fine. Don't worry about it. Dax Harwood says that it changed him. And he wants to look in the eyes and get the chance, and he's going to make Harwood his bitch. Which, again, they're building up Perry, which is the right thing to do. And then we get commentary hyping up next week's matches, as well as tonight's main event, which is Kenta and Kenny Omega versus Jon Moxley and Lance Archer. Don Callis on commentary for this one. Omega's ring introduction is great. The devil is in the detail. There's not a more obnoxious ring announcement on his way to the ring, but it's giving you as well, which I quite like.
Yeah. Omega, I mean, it's funny because the girls come out with the broomstick, and when they start Omega's theme song, and they offbeat. It makes me laugh. I'm like, they shouldn't be, because they come in with this some Michael Jackson beat, right? A Thriller type, and then they go and put Omega's song, and the girls still moving to the first beat. So it's hilarious. It is annoying. Especially the part where he keeps saying North Carolina, and I'm still trying to figure out why they talk about North Carolina. But Omega does it because he knows that people are gonna get mad and they're gonna get annoyed. But that's his job. He's a heel. That is his job. He's making you pissed off and annoying, and you can't stand his entrance. He's doing his job.
Like I said earlier, Moxley with belt over his shoulder again just looks right. But Kenta blindsides Moxley with the IWGP United States Heavyweight briefcase at the jump. This was a crazy match. We see Kenta hitting the GTS on Peter Avalon on the outside during it. We go into the kitchen. What was he doing? Just sitting there.
He had the red velvet couch on the floor. I was like, what the hell is he doing? and then he was put to sleep.
And then Moxley went onto there as well and took a little dive. We see them going to the kitchen. Kenta with a DDT on Moxley on a steel table. You see the referee holding the table, but you thought, oh no, it's a DDT on the table. But you're thinking there could be a serious incident here with these two talents on top. We see
what was killing me what I was laughing at was when Moxley took a potato and punched Kenta in the head with it. That was hilarious. He hit him like twice, and then he looked at the potato and hit him again.
Wait, that's actually a pretty.
First of all, the funny part is I didn't even expect the box of potato because Kenta had Moxley on the steel table, and all of a sudden you see a box fly and potatoes flying everywhere because Lance Archer threw the box of potato on Kenta. That was hilarious.
Talk about a potato punch. I know it's crazy, isn't it? We see a V trigger puts Moxley on the table. Lance and Kenta fight over the announce desk. Lance tells him to scram powerbomb lift, but Kenta fights out of it, punches, and then a double stomp off the stage and through John Moxley on the table. Just incredible.
That was a crazy bump because
motion replay.
Yeah,
that was incredible.
Yeah, he took Archer out. First of all, and then he just ran and took off from the stage and double stomped Moxley. I was like, lucky he didn't break his. First of all, he didn't break a rib on Moxley, and he didn't break his ankle from doing that stomp. That was crazy.
What's that? Is it like you've got a really big match in a couple of weeks, right? So don't do anything stupid. And Kenta's like, sure, and then he just runs and dives. Take out Mox. Yes. See Carl Anderson come running in after the action is breaking down in the ring and counters a choke slam into a gun stun. Jake Roberts hits short arm Larry on Anderson, but Gallows chops the snake down to size. Kenny lines him up off the ropes, but Moxley stops him from whacking with a barbed wire bat. Kenta hits the go to sleep on Mox. Archer lays Kenta out, choke slams them, got the hand around the throat of both of them. They count with knees. Good brother hit the magic killer. Kenny takes the knee pad down off the ropes. V-trigger, they help Omega get Archer up on the shoulders, and then he hits the one-winged angel for the victory. I mean, thoughts on this match? First off, obviously all have connections with NJPW. Moxley beat Archer for the title. Kenny Omega is the first champion. This was a great matchup. What were your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, you had three champions, the current champion, and then you had two or a former world champion and a guy who's the number one contention for that title. This was crazy. Like I said, the funniest part was the box of potatoes that popped out of nowhere. And then Moxley hits Kenta with the potato on his head like 3 times. It was just wild. It was wild. And that's the type of match you expect when a guy like Lance Archer and Moxley teaming together. And Omega, he could wrestle any type of wrestling match. Kenta, that was the first time I saw Kenta in a no holds barred type match. He did very well, but that goes to show you there's so many things that can happen when it comes to that. I mean, the show was, it started off a little, for me, like I said, a little disappointing with the Darby Allin situation, but the ending was crazy. And it's gonna get wild because right now with the Omega and the Good Brothers, they're just raising hell, and you got a lot of people joining together. Something you never expected Lance Archer and Moxley team up together a year ago. At this time a year ago, Moxley just took the belt away from Archer. So so it was. Overall the show was great. The main event was great. Everything that I expected. It was a little crazy, but again, it's Moxley and Archer, two of my favorites right now, and I'm waiting to see more stuff to happen. So overall, the show together, the whole, you got now the Lee Johnson, maybe QT Marshall. That's going to be a storyline that people are probably going to get entertained because this is a younger guy who just got his first win, and you got a trainer who may be jealous, whatever. That's going to be a story. Now you got the Handman Page and Matt Hardy. Dark Order is going to be into that storyline. And then this whole thing with Omega and the Good Brothers, the Young Bucks, Inner Circle. The whole show was great. I can't wait till Wednesday.
Well, this is the thing. There's an air of unpredictability on Dynamite at this moment in time that I don't think's been felt on a wrestling show for a long time. You might have to go onto the network to go and watch maybe old Nitros to kind of get this feeling of you're not really sure what you're going to get, but you know it's going to be good. And who knows what the future holds with the Forbidden Door open. We'll find out, of course, when we cover AEW Revolution, an important event to cover right now, and that's February 13th. It's No Surrender. Of course, Impact Wrestling presents the 13th ever No Surrender. What was your excitement level for this event, and what match were you most looking forward to? Because I know you're not an avid Impact watcher.
The match I was really looking for, let's see. I mean, I didn't know what was the card. I knew the Tommy Dreamer and the Rich Swann match was going to happen. So I probably was looking forward to that because I wanted to see if Tommy was going to do something crazy or Rich Swann is going to get down and dirty just to get his belt, because Tommy Dreamer is going to fight you and he's going to fight you his way. And if he had to go hardcore to win the match, and I mean, the guy's 51 or 50, whatever it is, it's his last hurrah. So that probably was one of the matches I was looking forward. The Good Brothers with the Private Party, like I said, I didn't get to see a lot of the Impact last Tuesday, so I was surprised that the James Storm and Sabre was in that match, so it made it more interesting. So I really was I wanted to see if Private Party was going to win the belt, because if Private Party wins the belt, that of course that would be big, because now you got AEW guys coming in taking the belts. Now they're going to take it to Wednesday AEW. So again, this whole Forbidden Door stuff it could open so many opportunity, and outside of winning the belts from Impact, that will be something big.
Well, first up, to watch this, even if you don't have a subscription, you can watch this on the Impact app. You can see the monthly shows plus the Impacts every week, just the day after. It's how I managed to watch it. And I do pay a subscription, but you can watch it for free as well for anybody out there who's not sure how to get it. But we start the event. The commentators are Matt Striker and D'Lo Brown. Started with a Tommy Dreamer promo reflecting his long career. Still photos and video highlights played as well. He held pictures of his children in wrestling boots. He talked about his injuries and daily pain due to wrestling all these years. He said he would still have to do it all over again because he loves it. He called that this is his last shot, and he would try his hardest to be what the fans want him to be. This was a very well done video segment. It made the show seem a little bit more special. Then we see footage of Dreamer in the building. He said he was inspired by Tom Brady beating a younger rival. What are your thoughts on the promo?
The promo was great. I mean, it wasn't bad. Kind of shows what Tommy Dreamer has been in professional wrestling. The guy's been in professional wrestling for 30-something years. That's incredible. I remember actually hearing from him back in 1994, if I'm correct. That was the first time I heard about him. And it's a long way. It's a long history. The guy's put his body in so much pain. I mean, because he's a hardcore wrestler, and it's the gimmick type of wrestler. The guy that takes the punishment, spills blood, broken ankles, broken this, broken that, And in a way, you got to give him his props, because he has put his body so much pain just to satisfy the wrestling fans, and it was nice. I like the promo that they did.
Yeah, we're about that. We start off our very first match is Triple XL, Larry D and Ace Romero, and Tennille Dashwood with Caleb with a K versus Decay, Black Taurus, Crazy Steve, and Rosemary. And Rosemary and Tennille started it off. They tagged out to Taurus and AC. Decay ran Triple XL out of the ring, but they soon got the advantage over Steve. Tennille tagged in and stomped Steve in the corner before tagging out to AC. Taurus tagged in and went to town to Triple XL with headbutts and clothesline. Taurus got 2 count on Larry after a Samoan drop. Then Tennille waved a red bullfighter flag and posed to distract Taurus. Larry and Taurus traded dives to the outside and each other. Steve dove over the top rope onto both. Rosemary blocked AC from doing the same. Tennille kicked Rosemary to the outside. AC threw Tennille over the top rope onto the group. That was a big risk for Tennille. Then we see Rosemary spraying green mist in AC's face. Taurus pinned Larry in the ring after a power slam. Your winner's Decay in 8 minutes. What were your thoughts on that match?
Okay, the match was for a match to start off a show. It was pretty decent. The only thing I think they did was the high risk maneuver. Now, if you saw the match, Ace Romero went and kind of power bombed Tennille Dashwood to the group, and I think she must have hurt her elbow, because you heard the announcers like, look at her elbow, and you could tell either she dislocated her elbow or because she hit a part of the lights on the ramp, and I'm like, you shouldn't be taking risks like that, especially for a match like that. Overall, the match was decent. I was very impressed with Black Taurus. Crazy Steve, to me, that guy has improved so much from the time that I first saw him years ago when he was part of Decay with Abyss, and so it was decent. It was much. I think the opening match was way better than the one in Hard to Kill. This was much better though.
Oh, well, this is a good opener, all action with some comedy thrown in. Black Taurus, like I said, looked like a monster. I am not a fan of Triple XL, not because I think they're a heavy machinery rip-off. I just think, I don't know which one it is, just looks increasingly unhealthy, and they might have to actually do something about it. Yeah, that is not a good look, is it?
No, it's not. Because I remember seeing Ace Romero up here in New York, House of Glory, and I'm like, dude, that's not even healthy. You don't look healthy. And it's scary. I mean, but this is their gimmick, and then they probably feel if they change the gimmick, it's not going to work for them. They'll be just a regular. But I think Ace Romero's move on Neil Dashwood was kind of reckless. That was whoever came up with that was kind of reckless.
But what I think is reckless as well, like to talk about, they won't work if they were called XL, I suppose. But the thing is with Tenille Dashwood is that I look at her and I see a star and I think, why are Impact putting her in this position? Yes, it's a spot on the card, but it's kind of, isn't it really, They
don't think highly about her. And I tell you that because this is the second pay-per-view that she is in the start of the opening of a pay-per-view. Last time it was her with Caleb, with a K, whatever, against Decay. I forgot. I think it was Crazy Steve and Rosemary. Now this one was a 6-man tag. We had Black Taurus, and I understand you're trying to introduce Black Taurus now into a pay-per-view, but it's like all you did was change her tag team, and that was Triple XL. So I don't know. They don't respect Tenille Dashwood, but you know what? She chose to be there, and I don't even think she has a contract. She's in there pay per show. You know what I'm saying? She shows up, they pay her because she didn't really sign. Well, when she came to Impact a couple of years ago, and she was the one who started feuding with Valkyrie. She wasn't a signed contract, and she left Ring of Honor, and she was part of the Bloodline, whatever it was, with all the guys from New Japan. So, I mean, to me, I don't think she's not going to go far there. She needs to go somewhere else.
Yeah, it's a bit weird the way they're doing it, and I think she's a great talent. I like Decay and the theme song as well, especially with Matt Striker. Kind of getting into the details a couple of weeks ago on Impact about kind of what it meant. Out of 5, though, I'm going to give that 3.25 out of 5 to start.
Yeah, I'll give it a 3. I'm not even giving you the quarter. I give it a 3. For that bad power bomb that you nearly broke the girl's elbow. That's horrible.
Prediction wise, WNR went Decay, so we're 1 for 1 at this moment in time. Poll wise, Decay got 78% of that. We then see Striker and D'Lo appearing on camera running down the matches for the show. Then we get a video on Brian Myers, Eddie Edwards feud. And then, of course, Brian Myers and Hernandez versus Eddie Edwards and Matt Cardona to start. Myers wearing an eye patch squared off for Edwards to start the match. Cardona tagged in, but Myers immediately tagged out to Hernandez without touching Cardona. Edwards and Cardona tried to double team Hernandez, but he clotheslined them both. Myers took to the outside. Edwards got clotheslined. Edwards worked on by the heels, and then Hernandez exposed the turnbuckle. We see Edwards suplexed Hernandez, Cardona, and Myers tagged in and go around wild on both of them. Myers hit a Tiger Drive for a 2 count. All 4 wrestlers got in the ring and mixed it up. Cardona hit a Frankenstein off the top rope on Myers for a 2 count. Cardona missed a move and hit the exposed turnbuckle by accident. Myers clotheslined him for the victory at 10 minutes. What were your thoughts on this one?
This match was decent. I mean, I'm surprised to see Hernandez still with Impact. And then they got him teaming up with Myers. Myers looks so much way better than when he was in WWE with that horrible gimmick he had when he was losing every single match. He had like a streak or whatever. And it looks like you look at him now, he looked like he has had a new fresh of air, brought inside of him. He looks great. It's a whole different look. It's just incredible. Matt Cardona, of course, Mark Cardona. It was great seeing him in the ring with with Myers, because they were former tag team World WWE Tag Team Champions, the Edgeheads back in the days. So it was good to see them across the ring from each other. I mean, Eddie Edwards also. I mean, Eddie Edwards is Eddie Edwards. You can't, you're not. The guy's gonna bring you good matches. But Hernandez and Myers, they pretty much control most of the match. I mean, it wasn't until Cardona came in, did his offense, and the match was pretty good. I mean, it was nice to see. Actually, I was glad and happy not only to see Hernandez still in there, it could probably still be a big superstar one day in there, but watching Myers, formerly known as Kurt Hawkins, doing so good now, and this with the swag he has, I was happy for him.
Well, I think, like you talk about there, with Hernandez, the storyline's paying off for him, kind of getting paid off. He's a Impact or TNA legend, as it was. Myers is someone who's come there, and obviously we'll get behind you if, you'll get behind us, so to speak. And he, like I said, looks motivated. I was looking forward to this one. Obviously, the eye patch wasn't over the eye sometimes. Depth perception is a little bit difficult in the world of wrestling sometimes. But the exchange between Myers and Cardona were class. I'm looking forward to hopefully a singles match between the two. What are you going to score that out of 5?
I give it I give it a 4. That match was pretty decent. It wasn't bad. I mean, the guys followed up as far as whatever storyline they were trying to tell. And Eddie Edwards took most of the punishment in that match. And like I said, Myers looked great. I mean, his heel turn, whatever it is he's doing now, is good. It fits him so well. I mean, what's funny? I was waiting for Hernandez to do his little whistle that he usually does when he was with LAX, but he didn't. So he used to do this little whistle every time he used to do a move or whatever. Like he was in Compton in California.
But it's good, like I said, to see him in action. I'm going to give that a 3.5 out of 5. Prediction wise, I went Cardona and Edwards, so I'm 1 out of 2. But it's nice to know they value Myers more, which is pleasing to see in the long term with that. Poll wise, Hernandez and Myers got 55% of the vote. Up next, Matt Hardy backstage promo. Hardy hyped up Private Party and said that this was their night. Private Party were confident. Hardy said they would win the Impact Tag belts tonight and never come back. We get a video package on Violent by Design's feud with cousin Jake, and then it's Jake Something versus Dina with Eric Young and Joe Doring. Jake is no longer billed as cousin Jake. It's now called Jake Something, which of course he's used before in Impact. He had something on his trunks and his entrance video. He took out Dina early. Dina rolled out to consult with Eric Young, overpowered Dina, and on the outside Young applied a net breaker on Jake, then rolled him back in. Dina had the advantage. Young punched Jake from ringside. Dina continued his assault. There was a nice spike on the second turnbuckle, finger move I've not seen.
That was nuts.
That was, when you see a move, you go, "Whoa, actually, have I?"
Yeah, because
your brain starts.
Yeah, he had his arms locked on the side and then his neck jamming between the buckle. Then he drop kicked his rear. I was like, "What the hell?" That was a sick move.
Jake finally made a comeback and fired up and hit a series of moves on Dina. Dina rebounded with a net breaker on Jake. They battled on the top rope. Jake landed a dive off the top to take out Young and Doring. And then Jake hit a black hole slam on Dina for the pin. Young and Doring immediately jumped Jake after the match, and Doring power bombed him through the table. Your winner, Jake Something, in 10 minutes. What are your thoughts?
That match, not for nothing, but I think that match stole the show, the whole show. I think it was a decent match. Diener looked like he was the more violent wrestler in there as far as his moves, all that, and he was the quicker guy in there. The ending of the match was good. I see Jake. I mean, it was funny because I remember it was cousin Jake the last time I saw him wrestle, and now it's Jake Something. So I see Jake probably having a feud with Joe Doring. And especially after when they put him through the table, I could see that happen. That's going to be a good match. And two big guys going at it. The match was decent. I think that match was the match of the night, the whole pay-per-view. That's my opinion on that. It was, I mean, I was like, after watching that match, I said, let me see the rest of the pay-per-view, see if it's going to outclass this match for now. That Diener versus Jake something was the number one match of the whole pay-per-view, in my opinion.
What are you going to give it out of 5?
I give that 4.5. That was a decent match. It was pretty good.
I've not seen much of Impact, so I didn't know if this was a big deal or not, but it didn't really feel like it. You get the victory, but a beat down afterwards, so you hope something comes from this. But it looks like maybe Diener will be the guy fed to the people who are then jobbed out to Doring, who's treated as a monster, maybe. Like I said, we have to see how it develops. I didn't think it was a bad match.
It was a bad match for you?
No, it wasn't a bad match. Like I said, it wasn't a bad.
No, what?
But like I said, I think maybe I was missing something of it. I'm going to give that a 3.25 out of 5.
Oh wow, 3.25.
Yeah, no, it wasn't. It's two guys doing the work, but maybe it annoyed me because the predictions I went Diener, so maybe I was annoyed by that. And then I thought, well, if Diener's not getting the victory, then putting them through a table afterwards is quite a easy way around it, so to speak. But hey, that's why we're here, to agree and disagree.
Yeah, I mean, I figure the last pay-per-view there was a tag team match. If I'm correct, I think they get the victory. No, they lost. They lost that because I think Diener teamed up with Rhino. Jay teamed up with Rhino and Tommy Dreamer. So and they lost that match. So I think this match now having him 1-on-1 with Diener, I think it was pretty decent. I mean, I don't know, but now we could look forward to him probably going at it with Joe Doring. Maybe a better match between them two, or it could be good or it could be bad. So
exactly, this is the thing, and it's just to see if they can what they're doing with Diener, if they're going to just have him as a guy who kind of gets beat, or if they
But they're gonna have to get somebody because it's 3-on-1, so you're gonna have this guy fending off 3 guys, and then you're gonna have to bring either somebody nobody expect come into Impact to help them. I mean, the question is who could it be? Because right now it looks like the next challenger that Jake is gonna face is Joe Doring, but you still got 3-on-1. So unless who's gonna help him? That's how I'm looking at it. Because he got jumped, put him through a table. Now he's gonna face Doring probably in the next pay-per-view or whatever it is. It's still a 3-on-1. Who's gonna help him?
Yeah, and hopefully I do like Violent Bites, but their name was quite cool last time out, so there's a potential there to kind of move on with it. Poll-wise, Diener got 55% of the polls. And backstage, Eddie and Alicia Edwards present the gift bag to Tommy Dreamer for his birthday. Eddie wished him luck and said he was glad to call him a friend. Alicia gave him a hug as well. Really, really nice. And then up next, Trey Miguel versus Blake Christian versus Suicide versus Chris Bay versus Davari versus Josh Alexander versus Willie Mack versus Ace Austin. The winner gets an X Division title shot in the very first ever triple threat revolver match. We see Trey, Blake, and Suicide start off. It was fast-paced and all 3 traded moves. The action spilled to the outside with Christian diving over the top rope and taking Suicide out. And then we see nice Suicide to land on Trey. That was a really nice exchange as well. Yeah. Suicide eventually tapped out to the leg lock from Trey and was eliminated. But I think Suicide impressed in that opening little bit there.
Yeah, Suicide did. But, I mean, the guys that he was in there in that ring are 2 of the future of wrestling. I mean, Blake Christian, that guy, I see him everywhere. New Japan, Ring of Honor. I mean, he's going to give you a nice little match. And Trey Miguel, I was happy to see him that he's still with Impact instead of going to NXT. So he showed a lot of ability, and this is what I'm saying. I got to start watching Impact because I was very impressed with his skills and how he's, he moves and that leg lock he put on Suicide. I wasn't expecting him to tap. I saw him tapping. And I'm like, did he just tapped? Because I didn't expect Suicide to tap. But it was, it's Suicide. I don't know. I can get behind that guy, whoever's under that hood, But I mean, Suicide could still wrestle, whatever. But how many guys has been on the Suicide hood? It's been so many, so you don't know who the hell is that. I mean, but he looked good though. He looked good, but I was surprised that he was the first one eliminated.
Part of me still hopes it's Christopher Daniels underneath the mask. Anyway, next in was Chris Bay. He dominated the action until Christian started getting the upper hand. It was a nice double Rana in there as well. Spanish fly to Trey on the outside by Christian, and then Bay hit the vertebrae on Christian for the pin to eliminate him. That was nice for the birth Bay boy. Then we get Daivari in next. He is incredible. I mean, there's an old English expression, built like a brick shithouse, and that is definitely what Daivari was.
Built like a brick shithouse. I've never seen that. I never heard that. This is, I guess, I'm going to learn a lot from you. Built like a brick shithouse. Okay. I like that. Yeah, I was very surprised that Daivari still looks that good. And and I said it yesterday on my review on my podcast. Daivari, last time I saw Daivari Impact was like 2007, something like that. He had just got let go from WWE, and now I'm surprised that he's wrestling in Impact, and he also wrestling in Major League Wrestling. So he's part of country unit in Major League Wrestling. So, but I'm looking at him, I'm like, wow, he's in great shape. This guy's got to be like in his 40s. He looks great. The only thing I didn't like was that he didn't sit long in the match. So I don't know why.
Oh, that's what I'm saying, yeah. It just felt like he came in on the show.
Yeah, he's still like probably 3 minutes, maybe. Probably less.
I mean, if that, yeah. Well, it's literally what I've got for it. Like, Bay and Daivari squared off. Daivari beat the crap out of him. Trey was still on the floor, then Trey hit the Meteora on Daivari for the pin. So it was kind of job done there, wasn't it,
Yeah, like, I was like, so why you brought him in if you're going to have him there in 2 minutes? I mean, he looks good. But, that one was a surprise for me. Like, okay, you brought him in. I expected him to be longer. Chris Bay, that dude is just that guy's another guy in the future. I mean, and I hope Impact keeps him and hold on to him because that guy is going to be big.
Without a doubt. We see Josh Alexander enter the match next. Alexander dominated the action for a while, including suplex in Bay, while Trey was still holding onto his back. That was brilliant.
Yes. Oh my God. Listen, I never seen anybody do something like that. He had him in a sleeper hold. I just want all you fans to realize, if you haven't seen No Surrender, he had him. Trey Miguel had Josh Alexander on a sleeper hold on his back. He grabs the next opponent, or I think it was Blake Christian or whoever it was, and he suplexed him while Trey Miguel was on his back. It was sick. You got to see this. This match was great. This match was really great. Yeah.
Like I said, it was a lovely exchange, and then we see with Josh and Bay, we see a torture rack spinning the right round, and Josh made Bay submit to the ankle lock. And Chris Bay, at that point, I was going, well done, son. That's a great performance in this match. But it still continued because Willie Mack was next. He ran wild and Trey Alexander hit his trademark moves. Mack and Alexander trade moves back and forth. We see a Tower Doom, which was really nice. Then Trey hit another Meteora whilst Willie held Josh and pinned Mac, which again is another move I was going, I might have seen that before, but again, really innovative offense for all of them.
Yeah, I mean, he did, I think, Trey Miguel did the double knee on somebody, I think, in the beginning of the match. But that part where it looked like Willie Mack was about to do a fall-away slam on Josh, and then you see Trey Miguel come out of nowhere from the top rope and hits it with a double knee for him to get pinned by both guys. I mean, my thing is, I think Willie Mack, he has so much potential, and I don't understand why Impact doesn't push him much, a little higher than what he is right now. And wasn't he X Division champion at one point? If I'm correct?
Yeah, I think so as well. Yeah,
I think so. I don't remember, but I mean, they're looking at it. I guess they're looking at the fact that, look, you got Trey Miguel and then you got Josh Alexander, which you're not gonna have this guy get pinned. This guy is like a monster. So I mean, but it was something I didn't expect. I thought he was gonna do the 4-way slam on Josh, but then I see Trey Miguel jumping off the top rope and hits him with a double knee on his shoulder and gets pinned. I was like, well, there goes Willie Mack. Gets pinned again.
Ace Austin was the final entrant and he dominated the action initially. Trey and Alexander eventually recovered and made comebacks. We get a nice reverse Rana from Trey. We then hit a renovated rope assisted cutter for a 2 count. The way he moves in the ring is just incredible. Trey and Ace to the outside and squared off in the ring. Trey took out Alexander on the outside. Alexander made his way back in the ring and took on Ace and Trey by himself. Alexander has Ace in an ankle lock, but Ace got out of it. Alexander got a pile driver on Ace for the pin and the win at 23 minutes. We'll talk about thoughts on this. What are your thoughts on that match?
Listen, the whole match was pretty good. I have no complaints of the match itself. I got one beef, which I'm going to bring up. But first of all, Josh Alexander becoming the number one contender, the X Division, he better win that belt. He better win that belt because I know he has another 3 months left before his contract is over. And I'm sure that once his contract expired, there's a lot of other promotions that are going to want to bring him in for what he brings to the table. Second, my beef is why in the world was Ace Austin in this match when the guy won the Super X Cup that makes him automatic number one contender? Am I right or wrong?
Well, the thing is, I watched that event for 3 hours and he didn't win any. He didn't get awarded anything. They didn't give him a title shot in the end. It was for no reason that he won that match.
Yeah. The funny thing is, my thing is, the last time I remember the Super X Cup, if you win that, you become the number one contender for the X Division belt. That's why it's called Super X Cup. But the last pay-per-view we saw him, he came in the ring, and that's when Matt Cardona showed up. He had the Super X Cup in his hand. And he wasn't even in the match between TJP and Bay and Rohit, right? So you wasted time with him just going in there and getting pinned or get disqualified within 2-3 minutes. Here he is in a match where first thing that came into my mind was, okay, why is Ace Austin on this match? And the winner of this gets the number one contention. When Austin won the Super X Cup a couple of months ago, or 2 months ago, whatever it was, why is he not the number one contender? So you see what I'm saying? It's like the storyline going up.
This is what drove me crazy whilst I was watching the actual show, as in the X Division Cup. And Matt Striker is going, well, of course, the winner of this doesn't get a shot, but maybe he can talk to management about, getting an opportunity down the line. And I thought, well, what's the point in that? So he did all that, won it.
Exactly.
And then 2 months later, they have the event.
It's the logic. Some of these companies don't keep. If you're gonna follow a storyline to the T, then why have a tournament for a bunch of guys to wrestle for it? But then later on, then have them, wrestle again for the number one contender. It's the same thing right now, and I don't want to bring WWE to the fold, but it's the same thing. Right now, they're doing the Elimination Chamber in WWE, but they have the Miz in the Elimination Chamber. Whoever wins that becomes number one contender to the title. But why you got the Miz if you got the trophy, the case that automatically makes them the number one contender? So it's like I sometimes feel Impact does almost the same thing that WWE does. Like you don't stay to the story. Like why have a guy go through all this nonsense? You promote the Super X Cup, and then the guy has to be in a 666 revolver match. For whatever reason.
Like I said, it's the equivalent of winning the Rumble, not getting a title shot at WrestleMania, and then having to go into the chamber match and winning it. It just doesn't make any sense whatsoever.
Exactly.
But anyway, talk about the bad stuff Impact do. The good stuff is, like you talked about, Chris Bay is the future. Trey Miguel is the future. Ace Austin is fantastic. Josh Alexander, again, it makes sense him actually winning this, and he's growing me every week.
I don't know if you're going to agree with me, but do you think Ace Austin should have been a world champion by now?
I feel with Ace Austin, he's got everything about him, and why they're not maybe using him more is it makes you start thinking about contracts.
Yeah, and I mean, and put it this way: if they don't push this kid, okay, and mind you, again, I don't watch Impact like I used to, but I seen Ace Austin wrestle in Impact. I seen Ace Austin wrestle in MLW, and the guy is money. And if you don't push these guys who are under your contract at the moment, WWE is going to be knocking at the door and say, hey, you want to be popular, you want to be known, come to NXT. And then you go, here you lose another wrestler that could have brought you money, could have brought you more eyes to the product. And now you're losing a guy like Ace Austin to either NXT or AEW or WWE, whatever the case may be.
Right, exactly. This was a great match, though. They went face instead of heel. Out of 5, I'm going to give this a 4 1/4. What are you giving it?
Yeah, same thing. About four and a quarter. I mean, it was pretty good. You know, the only thing that I got disappointed was the fact that number one, Ace Austin did not win it. Two, Austin is in the number one contenders gimmick match. Why? And I mean, and I was happy that Josh Alexander won but then again, if Josh Alexander won this 666 revolver, whatever it's called, and he doesn't get the title, then that's a waste of time. You're gonna lose the guy. You're gonna lose him because his contract is up in May. So if you give him the belt, then that means that you want to sign him. You want to keep him around. So you have to put the belt on him because right now he's wrestling by himself because Ethan Page is no longer with the company.
Well, prediction was on that. I went Ace Austin 4 at this moment in time. That is terrible. Poll-wise, Chris Bay got 47%, so the people didn't do much better. We get a video package of Fire and Flavor versus Havoc and Navarra feud playing, and then we, of course, get the match. It's Fire and Flavor, Kira Hogan, Tasha Steelz versus Havoc and Navarra. Impact Wrestling Knockouts title on the line. This match was no DQ. All four wrestlers squared off and threw punches at the start. Havoc tossed Akira around and screamed. Kira dropkicked Havoc in the corner. Ball in a chair, sat up in the corner. See, Kira hit Navarra and Havoc with a kendo stick and took out both. Navarra fought Kira and Tasha by herself, but was overcome. Havoc recovered and fought Kira and Tasha. Havoc double suplexed both of them and continued to fight them in the ring. Havoc accidentally ran the chair into the chair she set up earlier. Tasha hit a cutter, Navarra for the pin, and after the match, Navarra walked out on Havoc. Your winners after 9 minutes, Kira Hogan and Tasha Steelz. What are your thoughts on this one?
This match, I wasn't too crazy about it because it's like I was watching the same match from last pay-per-view, but they just added a stipulation. First of all, there's this tag team of Fire and Flavor, they need to be on point because and I say that because at one point Steele brings in the chair and doesn't use it. Instead, Havoc takes the chair away from her, punches her, and lodges it in the corner, which doesn't make sense to me. That part I was like, okay, that makes no sense. The next one was when I think it was Hogan came in with a candlestick, right? She comes in with a candlestick. Instead of using the candlestick to stop the pinfall, she doesn't. I mean, Steele had to get out of it, and then she used the candlestick. So that shows me right there that these two tag team, they wrestle already hard to kill for the tournament, right? Now they wrestle again. It looks like their chemistry is not there, And I didn't think much about this match either because I had a feeling that Havoc and Nevaeh was going to lose. And I mean, I was kind of surprised that Nevaeh walked out on Havoc and let Havoc wonder what happened, But I mean, I just watched it because I watched it, but I wasn't too crazy about it.
Well, my thoughts on this is that Impact have just brought back the women's tag team division, so it'd be interesting to see what's next for Fire and Flavor. They obviously brought it back and got a plan because otherwise that would just be crazy. But Fire and Flavor still need a little bit of work. They definitely have it, but they just need to be kind of, molded and just like you said, a little bit more, a bit more psychology and work on there. But they've definitely got potential. Like we said with Havoc Navarra, that'll be like another interesting wrinkle to it. It wasn't a bad match, picked up towards the end. I'm going to give it a 3.25 out of 5. What are you scoring it?
I give it a 3. They're lucky I give it a 3. I think that the problem was also the size. These Havoc and Nevaeh was way taller than these young ladies, Fire and Flavor. So I think that's another problem when you have an oversized woman wrestling a chick who probably weighs 110, 20 pounds. And it some of the moves may not come out sharp. So that pretty probably throws off the match too. But I'll give it a 3.
Prediction wise, I went Fire and Flavor, so 2 for 5. Poll wise, Fire and Flavor got 78%. We see Gia Miller interviewing Rich Swann backstage. Swann talked about his title match tonight. He was delighted he wouldn't have to deal with Moose. He said he gave Jim a title shot for a gift, but he wouldn't have given him the gift of new teeth after his teeth get kicked out. Then we said video package of a hit versus TJP feud. And of course, we were on to the X Division title match Next, Rohit attacked TJP at ringside before the bell, then threw him into the ring. Rohit rolled TJP back in, but got drop kicked off the top rope for his trouble, but drove on Shearer, did TJP. They continued to fight on the floor. The bell finally rang after a couple of minutes of action. TJP took over with punches. Rohit reversed a DDT attempt and then took himself. We see TJP making a comeback and did a modified Boston Crab whilst he was on the ropes. He missed a splash. TJP and Rohit traded the advantage. TJP suplexed Rohit, but missed a splash and got caught in a submission. But TJP reversed that into a knee bar. They traded the advantage until TJP landed his Mamba splash after he'd been trying it once, twice, and then 3 times as a charm for the pin and victory at 12 minutes. What were your thoughts on this matchup?
This matchup was good because there was a lot of counter moves. Rohit was like, he was just like wanted to pin TJP at any cost necessary. The only thing that I had to question was, okay, you had Rohit or attack TJP, and the referee did not ring the bell. So I'm like, okay, he didn't ring the bell, but once he throws him inside the ring, the bell still don't ring. Then they go back outside, and we can't ring the bell until both athletes are in neutral corner. And I'm like, since when this happened in wrestling? I rarely never heard of those rules. Usually a wrestler will attack and then they bring them inside the ring. Once they're inside the ring, the bell rings. The bell will then ring. And I'm like, that was the only, I think, negative part about that didn't make sense in the beginning. But as the match progressed, both guys really, really did a lot of good moves, and it was a lot of counter moves, whatever. I thought at one point, he was going to win the match. I mean, because he had the advantage. He had the guy outside. But TJP, he had a hard time beating him with one arm. So the match was pretty decent. It wasn't bad.
Yeah, these two men did click. Rohit brought it here tonight, I think, with his performance. I think he was really, really on show. I like TJP, but I think his reign is coming to an end soon. With all the shenanigans over, it boiled down to Rohit just not being able to beat TJP. Again, not a bad match. What are you going to give that a 5?
I'll probably give him like 3.5, maybe a 4. 3.5, I'll give it. It could have been a little better.
Like I said, the problem is we've just had the Revolver match. We think of all the talent there, then we get this one. We go, there could be a better X Division title match on the line. But again, like I said, for what it was good. Prediction wise, gone.
But let me, and maybe you could agree with me. I forgot to mention this. Okay, the last pay-per-view. Remember we talked about how Manic got unmasked, and you saw it was TJP. Now my thing was, here's another problem when I feel with Logic, when it comes to Logic booking. If Manic won the X Division champion, right? And then I know Rohit and Chris Bay was like, well, it could be Manic could be TJP, one the same person, right? And I remember hearing that if they found out it was TJP, Manic was going to get stripped of the belt. Now his match was taken off in Hard to Kill. Here I am, I see now TJP walking with the belt without the mask. So I'm like, okay, this don't make no sense, because if that's the case, the belt should have been vacated and then put it in a 3-way and have them wrestle for it, So this is another problem.
Scott D'Amore. I was about to say Scott D'Amore has done quite a good job as like the authority figure on Impact when it comes to kind of sticking Saban in Storm in the match and stuff like this. But this was one of the cases where I was watching Impact and Rohit says to Scott D'Amore, well, you knew it was TJP in the mask, and Scott D'Amore's just like, yeah, I know, but he's your X Division champ. And again, like you said, it's those little things.
Yeah, it's no logic. You insult the intelligence of a fan. It's like people are gonna be like, I don't want to watch this because this don't make no sense. You're not making sense. So that was another thing. That's the first thing I said. Wait a minute, he's without the mask in front of Scott D'Amore, and I'm like, what? So. And I think the reason it wasn't as good of a match it could have been was because the way the storyline is. This is about the third time or second time they wrestle, and this was one not as good as the one they had in Hard to Kill. So, you can't. They can't be doing that. Like you can't have a good match, and then you want to go and redo it again, but differently and add something else. It doesn't make sense.
Prediction wise, I went TJP, so I'm 3 for 6 right now. Polls, it ended 50-50. Then we see Gia Miller interviewing Tommy Dreamer backstage. Dreamer gave an emotional interview, tearing up, talking about how going to match with his father and a girlfriend. He asked how old Gia is, and she says she's 22. He said when he was 22, he was being caned by the Sandman. He teared up and said he wants to give the fans one more Tommy Dreamer moment. And he said, I've still got a couple of more push-ups to do. Again, they're working Tommy well tonight, aren't they, you know?
Yeah. I mean, the only thing I said, what was a Tommy Dreamer moment? That was the first thing that came into my head. I don't remember any Tommy Dreamer moments. I mean, yes, he was a hardcore wrestler. Yes, he did crazy. I think the only Tommy Dreamer moment that I remember was when Brian Lee chokeslammed him right through a bunch of tables in ACW.
I was about to say that, and then I was about to say, what about when he was like handcuffed on a cage and he got hit with a chair? But it's nothing he's doing.
It's not something to remember. I mean, he pretty much almost got assassinated every match.
Yeah. Anyway, move on to our next one. Deanna Pratt, and Kimberly and Susan versus Jordan Grace, Jazz and ODB. And ODB and Lee squared off to start with ODB getting the better of it. Grace and Susan tagged in and wrestled. Grace got the best of that exchange. Jazz and Deonna entered next. Jazz got divided with punches. Grace tagged in and dove on Deonna and Susan on the outside. ODB and Jazz followed up with dives to the outside also. That was quite nice stuff. Back in the ring, Deonna works on Grace's arm. Lee and Susan tagged in and out to keep the advantage. Grace finally made a comeback and tagged to ODB. Susan took her jacket off. ODB ripped off Susan's sleeves. She then ran Susan's head into the turnbuckle and got a 2 count after the Fez press. All 6 wrestlers fought into the ring and traded moves. Susan poked Jazz in the eye, but then Jazz accidentally hit ODB. And then at this point, I'm thinking, okay, it's going to go one way. Lee dove off the top to the outside, but then Jazz got Susan locked with the SCF for the tap out and the win, so the faces won. What were your thoughts on that match?
Honestly, to be honest, that match should have never happened. I think the only reason they had that match was because you needed to put the women's champion in the show. Deonna Purrazzo is Deonna Purrazzo. Jazz, to me, she still looks good. Just a little bit slow. You can see her age. She looks like, I mean, she could still do it. Even though she reminded me, those punches she was throwing remind me of Dusty Rhodes. But Susan, now my thing was this thing that I did mention it. I wrote it on my notes when I was watching the match. Susan in the ring, instead of having dress gear, wrestling gear, she has office gear on, and she is horrible in that ring. That girl, she doesn't know what she's doing, and this is why I say I think that kind of messed the match up on that. And then Kimberly taking dives from the top of the rope, unnecessary dives. I don't think they needed to put this match. To be honest, they didn't need to put this match at all. I think the reason they did it was because they figured, well, we had to put Deonna Purrazzo in the show. She's our Knockouts champion. And Jordan Grace, they got her in these type of wrestling matches. I don't know why. She should be going after the Knockouts champion. I think she's the number one girl beside Deonna Purrazzo in there. I don't think they needed to have this match, to be honest.
I thought it was surprising that it didn't kind of start off the show, but I know it's got the women's champion in there, but this did feel a bit like a kick-off matchup. But again, I don't think it was too bad, it wasn't anything that I got offended with, I mean,
but then again, but think about it. So they had this match, right? And somewhere between the match, I think Jordan Grace punched, it was Jazz by mistake punched Jordan Grace in the face because she got thumb in the eye. I said, okay, here we go. Something's gonna happen, but it left me disappointed because Jordan Grace just punched Jazz in the mouth by mistake, and nothing happens after that. So what was the purpose of that?
Jazz grabs a submission and gets an easy victory, didn't she? You go.
Yeah. Okay. I was impressed that she did the STF. Because a lot of people don't give up to that move anymore. Nobody, gets submitted with that move. Like the great Masa Chono made that move famous and made so many guys submit. But nowadays they don't even submit to that. But it was nice to see Jazz get the victory. I just didn't get the part of, you had Jordan Grace punch her in the face, or she punched Jordan Grace in the face. So I figure, okay, here comes the storyline. Nothing happened.
Again, though, like I said, Jazz looks great. Deanna has impressed in her role, but she needs decent challengers, and I think this is something we're looking at not only in the women's tag team division, but obviously 1-on-1 as well. Out of 5, I'm going to give it a 3.5 out of 5. What are you scoring it?
Nah, I give it a 2.5. 2.5. I can't because it's like they were doing. I think they were doing the most. They were doing too much, especially the last part where Kim just took off from the top of the turnbuckle to throw herself on top of all the females. And to me, that's not a rule breaker move. You know what I'm saying? That's not a heel move. A baby face would do something like that, and they told the ending of the match. And again, there was a lot of the stuff, the logic in that match. That's why I say you didn't need it to put it, but because Tiana Purrazzo was in it, you had to showcase the Knockouts champion. And then if you would have put it in the beginning, then that makes the Knockout champion look bad because she's in the first match of the night. So, I mean, damn if you don't, damn if you do.
Yeah, that's true. Prediction wise, I went faces, so it's 4-7 overall. Polls at 50-50. And then we get video package of the tag team title feud playing out, leading to the co-main event, the Good Brothers versus Private Party versus James Storm and Chris Sabin for the Impact Wrestling Tag Team titles. Well, Quinn and Storm started it off. Storm got invited for a hip toss. Cassidy tagged in and got put in an arm lock. Private Party rolled to the outside and consulted with Matt Hardy. Private Party double team Sabin in the corner, then Sabin and Cassidy traded moves. Sabin yelled at Private Party that they had talent, didn't need Hardy. Private Party took over with double team moves and Sabin. Carl Anderson tagged in and got double teamed by Private Party. Gallows tagged himself in and took over with punches and kicks on Quinn. Anderson worked on Quinn's arm. Gallows got a 2 count on Quinn after a leg drop and another 2 count after an elbow drop. Anderson worked on the arm. Storm tagged in and went at it with the Good Brothers. Sabin and Storm worked on Gallows, then Anderson. Private Party double team Sabin and worked on Storm. Hardy shouted instructions from ringside. All 6 wrestlers got in the ring and fought. Cassidy DDT'd Gallows. Everyone traded moves. Hardy came in and got a twist of fate on Storm behind the referee's back. Quinn hit a shooting star press on Storm, but then Anderson rolled Quinn off and got the pin himself. Hardy yelled at Private Party afterwards and said they let him down. Your winners after the 14 minutes, the Good Brothers. What are your thoughts on this?
That match was good. It tells us a good story because now it tells a good story as far as now they're going to run that story in AEW. Now Matt Hardy is disappointed at them. I think it would have been much different. It would have been, I think, better. It would have just been the Good Brothers versus Private Party alone. But I think if they would have went that route, I think Private Party could have beat the Good Brothers. But then again, if you do that, you kind of mess up the other stories in AEW. But the match was decent. I mean, and that's the part that was the part where I had to rewind it or look at the replay because I'm like, why is Carl Anderson pinning I think it was James Storm or whoever it was. And I'm like, but he's not the legal man. But then I saw that he softly touched the back of the sneaker of Mark Quinn. And that's like, I say, oh, that was a smart move. That was a very, very smart move. I think the match itself was pretty good. It told the story. And now I want to watch what's going to happen. Is Private Party going to come back to Impact and challenge the Good Brothers on one-on-one now? Or that was a one and done stuff. You know what I'm saying? The Good Brothers, of course, they're not going to take those belts away from them, especially they're in a big storyline in AEW. So the match was pretty good. I got no complaints about it at all. I mean, it went exactly the way it was. You had Chris Sabin trying to convince one of the Private Party, look, don't listen to Matt Hardy. You know, you can do it on your own. You know what I'm saying? Then you got Matt Hardy being the manipulator and all that stuff. Then you got the Good Brothers being the Good Brothers, you know, and then they're gonna find a way to win no matter what. These other guys, these guys are, veterans. So,
Well, the thing is, I look at Gallows and I think, was he always that big? Because he looks incredible.
He looks taller. He looks way taller
looks like
now.
A mountain of a man, it was great.
He trimmed down. Though.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, he's done a lot of work, and he looks really good for it,
Yeah. Well, you get older. You got to lose some weight. You can't be carrying all that weight.
Well, just ask Big Show. Look how great he looks now. But
Yeah.
one thing about tonight, I noticed everybody with a manager lost.
Hmm.
You had Rohit, who had his help there, which lost the X Division match. Early on the night, of course, you had Dina losing when he had Eric Young by his side, and this time with Matt Hardy, they lost as well. So, what's the point of a manager?
Yeah. And you know what? You just took the words out of my mouth. And now today, managers don't mean nothing. Managers are just manager. I mean, if you're gonna have a manager that's gonna interfere, I mean, I don't remember when was the last time. Don Callis was the last one who interfered and got somebody a championship. That's when he gave the microphone to Omega. But managers don't mean nothing anymore. Managers are just managers, I mean, you don't see. I mean, sometimes Arn Anderson gets involved in matches. Sometimes he gets thrown out, and that's why sometimes I believe that when he does stuff and that's heel like, I'm like, oh, he's gonna turn on Cody, but he never does. So so managers don't mean nothing anymore.
That's what I'm saying. It's interesting to see he's there. Maybe it wasn't as good as what I had in my mind. The Good Brothers obviously take one after Private Party had it won. I still think it was a really good match. I'm going to give that 3/4 out of 5.
Yeah, about that. Yeah, 3/4. I think. Again, I think what made a little bit of difference was, I think if Saban and Storm would have not been in there, it would have been, now you want to see if Matt Hardy is going to cost the Good Brothers the match. But again, Impact is not going to take the belts away from Gallows and Anderson for the simple reason there's a bigger and giant storyline, bigger than just this match. So there's bigger, probably other plans that us as fans, as podcasters, we don't know about. So, I mean, if you think about it, you actually gonna believe that Private Party is gonna beat the Good Brothers, you know what I'm saying? Unless Matt Hardy interferes, you know what I'm saying? I didn't see it happening, but it was good in entertainment because now you figure, well, here comes the AEW tag team coming into Impact to try to beat the Good Brothers, and and they added Storm and Saban to make it more interesting.
Well, I think that we talk about as well when it comes to it. I feel the Good Brothers are probably the biggest stars.
Oh yeah,
the biggest main event draws on Impact.
Oh yeah. They don't really have tag teams. They don't really have that much tag teams in there. I mean, besides them, who you have? They broke up the North because Ethan Page never signed back. And you can't put Myers and Hernandez as a legit tag team. They just happen to team up because they're feud with Eddie Edwards and Cardona. But other than that, if you think about it, what tag teams do you have in and Impact? And if you put a tag team together, you're still not going to take those belts away from Good Brothers because right now Good Brothers there's a bigger storyline. I think there is a bigger storyline, and probably it's going to be like I said in Revolution, where the Good Brothers are going to defend those belts against the Young Bucks, and matter of fact, we're gonna find out this Wednesday. So if the Young Bucks keep the belts, we're gonna have AEW versus Impact World Tag Team Championships. So we'll see.
It's gonna be good, brothers.
Oh yeah.
Anyway, so we got prediction. I went Good Brothers, and 5 out of 8 with prediction. Polls is 46% went Private Party, and then we get a video package to the lead-up events to Swan versus Dreamer. And of course, our main event, Rich Swann versus Tommy Dreamer for the Impact Wrestling World Title. Dave Penzer made the in-ring introductions. They started off at slow pace at the beginning. They began to trade moves. The action spilled to the floor, and Dreamer hit an elbow from the apron. Dreamer appeared to hurt his hand. The referee Brian Hemler put up the X sign. The doctor ran to the ringside, but Tommy popped his finger back in place and continued. What did you think of that moment? I thought it was, at first I was thinking, oh no, but I thought it was quite, gnarly in the end.
I'm at home. I'm like, you did not step in a match over a broken finger, really? Tommy Dreamer has been in worse situations than that. You going to stop a match over a broken finger? Get out of here. I was like, they're not going to stop. So, you saw it. It looked distorted a little bit, and then he popped it back. I was like, ooh, that hurts, But I was hoping they stopped the match, though. But, you can't stop a match when Tommy Dreamer has been in bloodbaths. Come on.
Yeah. This is the thing, isn't it? Yeah, you show replays, it's like, that's how his final match ended. Yeah, he broke his little finger.
Yeah, yeah, what a way to go, right?
But I think it was nice done because it showed the toughness and what it meant to Tommy, even if he's been
Yeah. I think
injury.
that pretty much, showed that he the guy, no matter what type of pain he's going to give you 100%.
That which again was really nicely done. Swan worked on the hand. Dreamer made a comeback and went after Swan's knee. Of course, he's had reconstruction surgery on it, so again another good story told there. Dreamer got a reverse DDT for a pin. Dreamer had Swan in a cloverleaf submission, and then they both tumbled to the outside. Swan hit a cutter on Dreamer to the floor, and then the kick to the face was vicious by Swan.
Was that the one that he tried to power drive him and he kicked him right in the mouth?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh man, I saw that. I never seen anybody do that. And then when he picked him up, he kicked him right in his mouth. I was like, wow, I never seen nobody do it.
Back in the ring, Dreamer had to come back and got a series of 2 counts. Swan had Dreamer in an arm lock and worked on his injured hand. Dreamer reached the ropes to break the hold. Swan hit a series of kicks. Dreamer caught a kick and got a backside for 2 counts. Swan caught Dreamer with a kick. Swan missed a splash off the top and had Dreamer in the rings of Saturn, but Dreamer powered out. He hit a Spicoli driver for a 2 count, which is a lovely tribute. Swan hit more kicks and hit his Phoenix Splash for the victory. And as Dreamer was presenting Swan the belt, Moose attacked from behind and pounded Swan. He also speared Dreamer. Moose attacked Swan's knee with a chair. He held up the Impact and TNA belts and then left the ring. First off, we talk about the match. What were your thoughts? And I think this is one of Dreamer's best matches, even though, as we've talked about, there might not have been that many.
Yeah, it was one of his best matches. He didn't have to resort to grabbing a candlestick or a chair. So we went toe to toe with Swan. Swan, I mean, showed his little. You could tell he's got a little mean streak on him. So he was doing everything needed to hold that belt. So overall, the match was decent. I mean, it wasn't. I don't know why they called that a main event. That was not a main event. That was just a regular match. But for Tommy Dreamer, I mean, his last hurrah. That was the best way, the best birthday present you could get. Whatever happens, whether he won or not, it was just nice enough Impact to give him a world title shot.
Is this the end of the line for him? Do you want to see him carry on, or do you think this is a great way of him
the guy's not going nowhere, James. He's not going nowhere. The guy's still going to be in, and he's 50 something years old, and his body can't take all the stuff or whatever. He can't get up. And I mean, he was explaining that he sleep a certain way because he needs to get up that certain way every day. And, guys like him who have put his body through so much, if he sleeps, drinks, eat wrestling, this guy's not retiring anytime soon. Not at all. Sabu is still around and he's like 50-something years old. So Tommy Dreamer's not going nowhere. As long as he got a paycheck, as long as Impact is paying him, and he's more of giving back to the business, and I'm sure that Impact is gonna have other young guys come in, and I know there's a lot of young guys in there that look up to him. He's not going nowhere.
Right. So first off, we do out of 5. What are you gonna give that out of 5 for your match?
I'll give it like a 3.5. I think that should have not been a main event, to be honest. I think they could have done that in the middle of the show. They could have put the tag team, the Good Brothers Private Party, as the main event because that's a crossover. You know what I'm saying? As a crossover promotion, crossover tag team, it could have been nice. But again, they're doing. I guess they were doing him a favor as far as, look, it's your birthday. We're gonna give you a title shot. We're gonna put it at the main event. So I mean, that was nice of Impact's part to do that. So I get, like I said, I probably give him like a 3 in the match. It wasn't.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it a 3 3/4, only because it is probably the best match I've seen Tommy Dreamer in. Prediction wise, went Swan, so the final got 6 out of 9. Not great. Poll wise, Tommy Dreamer got 56%. So people on Twitter thought Tommy Dreamer was actually
56%. 56% thought that he was going to win the Impact belt. Who are these people?
Look, I appreciate everybody voting on on Twitter, so maybe listen to the podcast. That's one of the things. But hey, what we're going to talk about quickly is Swan versus Moose. Obviously, it's money. It's the match it's the match I want to see. Will they wait till April, which is the next Impact pay-per-view? And did they do an injury angle? Will Rich Swann not be able to be cleared until April now?
Yeah, but if they do an injury angle, you know for a fact that if they do an injury angle, and I think the next pay-per-view is in 2 months, I think April, then that means that Swan's going to win. Right now, the way I look at it, if you're going to do an injury angle, okay, do the injury angle. Don't make it that crazy where, now this guy recovers in 2 months and then he makes a comeback and he beats Moose by a fluke or whatever. You have the guy who could take Impact to the next level. The guy has improved so much, and he is a good heel. You can have him as a heel. Nowadays, world champions who are heels are better than baby faces because people are gonna want to see this person lose. If they don't see him lose, they're gonna be like, who's the next challenger? And then you got the next challenger that comes in. Right now, you need to get that belt away from Rich Swann. Rich Swann, like I keep saying it, he is not world champion material. Give it to Moose. Moose has been so good in the last couple of years, and like I said, I saw him wrestle in Hard to Kill. He impressed me so much, and I'm like, wow, this guy has done a 360, and then he's been the dominant. Even though that TNA belt is not considered a legit championship, but he's been the dominant champion in there. We haven't seen anybody dominate the scene like that since probably Brian Cage when he was in there, or somebody else,
But like I say, it's the match now that Impact have got, and it's Rich Swann versus Moose, and whether Rich Swann is injured from what Moose did to him after the matchup, and he won't be cleared until April, I think that's definitely something they are gonna look at. So we'll look at the event overall. Match of the night. You did say that Dina versus Jake was your match of the night, and I'm sure you're sticking to your guns with that one.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was good. I mean, even though the 666 revolver was pretty good, also there was a lot of high flying moves, a lot of stuff that. So you know what? I'm gonna change my mind now because I look at it. I totally forgot about this damn 666 revolver match. And I think I'm going to go with that. But the Dina and Jake match was pretty good. I think it was there. Probably a little lower level than the 666 revolver. Like I said, the 666 revolver because Josh Alexander won it. And then there were a lot of stuff going in there that was pretty good. So I'm going to stick with 666 right now. I'm going to change my answer to that, sir.
Yeah, no problem. What I've done is I've put the Dina match down to a 4.25 and ups the X Division match to 4.5 overall. Yeah. So match of the night, like I said, X Division Revolver for me. I mean, there's just a talent on the show. I think we're gonna. Hopefully, it's one of these matches that you or I can look back on in 10 years' time and watch it and go, look at all these talents. Look what they become from that moment there. Let's hope that could be a case.
And Impact, the only reason Impact still exists and has been since 2002 is because of the X Division. That X Division has kept a lot of these guys employed because of the skills and what they do in that ring, the talent. I mean, Chris Bay, that guy, I heard so much about him last summer until I sat there and actually watched him at the New Japan Strong. I think it was the Lions Break tournament, whatever it was. And then you got Blake Christian. I don't know if Blake Christian is signed by if he's under contract by Impact, but if it's not, they need to sign him. Trey Miguel, I was happy that he stood around. Josh Alexander, this guy, if you don't push this guy and put him with the belt, then he's going to go somewhere else, and that's a big loss. They lose Josh Alexander. They lose who else? I forgot what's the other guy that I said that they might if they don't. Oh, Ace Austin. If you don't do anything with Ace Austin and Josh Alexander, those are two big names you're going to lose in your roster when it comes to single individual competitors. And they cannot afford to lose these two guys because. But go ahead.
I'm about to say, you say we can't afford to lose it, but there's one thing Impact has done, especially this past, 5 years, maybe even 7 years, is the kind of revolving door sometimes of the talent and getting talent over. Just look at Ray Phoenix, what he was doing in Impact, and Brian Cage, and we've talked about, even people like Gallup or McIntyre and Morrison. It's like Impact. It's like, even if they do lose this talent, which would be horrible because this is a great stage for them to do, I've no doubt there'll be the next kind of hidden gem.
But they have lost so many guys in the last 2 years. They had lost in the tag team division. They lost Santana Ortiz. They lost John Morrison. Who else they lost? They lost who else? They just lost the Rascals. And again, you cannot continue to lose talent. Yes, you bring in talent, independent talent that become big names in Impact. So how are you going to build your promotion if you keep losing talent? You cannot afford to lose talent. You got to keep those talent. So to me, in my view, for what I've been seeing Impact the last couple of months, 3 guys they cannot lose, and that's Chris Bay, Austin, and Alexander. You can't lose those 3. You lose any other 3 guys, and then the women's division. If you lose Jordan Grace, you got nothing left. Besides, you got Deonna Purrazzo in there, but then if you don't have great women wrestlers in there that could give Deonna Purrazzo a run for their money, then that makes her look like a weak champion.
But the thing is this is what is so exciting about it right now, is the fact that Impact have got the foundations to build on to actually, become what they want, rather than a WWE or NXT or an AEW light, to actually, come through it. And this is what we're going to find out now in the coming months, in a year's time, to see what Impact is like. We've seen where it's gone from this time last year to now. Can it build from that, or will it suffer the same mistakes? If they don't learn from history, are they doomed to repeat it? And that's what's so interesting about it. Out of 10, anyway, for the entire event, what are you going to give it out of 10?
I'll give it a 7, just because they had that triple six match, which that was so much talent in there that made that pay-per-view good. Now you take that triple six out of there, maybe I could give it probably a 4 or 5, maybe, because remember there was one match there that wasn't supposed to be there. I don't think they needed to put it, but I'll give it a 7 because of that triple six pack. And I remember when you mentioned it to me, a 6-pack revolver, I was looking at him, I was like, what is he talking about? I never heard of that. But once I saw it, I'm like, you know what? That's something that if they keep doing it, it'll be something that people will be interesting to watch, because it's cool. I like the concept.
Well, my MVP is from that match, actually. I think Trey Miguel was the guy that impressed me most tonight, just because of his distance in the triple threat revolver matchup.
Yeah, I agree. Trey Miguel, I guess this is probably why he decided to stay with Impact. He wrestles the way he wants to. He ain't got nobody telling him how to wrestle, what to do, whatever. And I think in there, he was the MVP of that match.
Yeah, I think without doubt. I'm going to give it an 8.25 out of 10, only because it was a good event, nothing game changing, but still it was entertaining enough. And would I sit down the next day and watch it all the way through? Well, I just have done, but that's not the point. When it's an event, that's going to be that good. It's I suppose 8.25 was fair enough. I mean, I think anybody that knows my ratings out of 10, no, I'm never really that harsh unless it's like Saudi Arabian shows. So I think 8.25 is not great, but again, not too bad. The future looks bright. Of which,
it does. Yes, it does.
NJPW's Juice Robinson and David Finlay will appear on Impact Wrestling this Tuesday. A video where at the end of Impact Wrestling showed highlights of Finlay and Robinson as the logo was shown, and social media later confirmed the two were headed to Impact and would appear on this week's edition.
The forbidden door has been opened. Now, see, whoever thought you would see New Japan wrestlers going into Impact? Has not been done since 2008. That's almost 12, 13 years ago. Okay. Now with them bringing in Finn Juice, that's going to be good, because that gives a team like the Good Brothers someone to go at it. And Finn Juice is one tag team. They're former World Tag League champions, former IWGP Tag Team champions. So these guys are not slouch. So, and I know Juice Robinson and David Finlay has improved so much in the last 3-4 years, especially David Finlay, because Finlay, I followed him since he's been a young lion, 2014, 2015. Juice Robinson, he used to be in NXT, and then he went to New Japan. He went from being probably in the mid card, low-level card, and moved up to the main event in the tag team scene. So a lot of people are going to have fun. This is going to be a good matchup between the Good Brothers and FinJuice. So I hope they enjoy it, and I can't wait to see them this week.
Yeah, and what connects it all as well, weirdly enough, we talk about Juice Robinson. Of course, he was originally scheduled to face Kenta for the United States title shot, briefcase of Wrestle Kingdom 15, which again, it just kind of, you're adding stuff to it, and it's really, really good. And finally, we talked about Sammy Guevara earlier on AEW. Apparently, he's got some backstage heat. I don't know how true this is over the Impact angle. Tony Khan said he'd be unhappy. Guevara apparently travelled to Impact to take part, and they said, you know what, don't bother, because he was kicking up a fuss. Again, we talk about it playing into the fact that, Guevara quickly in a circle could show up.
I don't know. I don't know. This sounds like to me like they are working the fans out, because I mean, I don't want to understand why would Sammy Guevara turn down something with Impact when, if you want to continue the storyline as far as the inner circle, you just quit, and then now Impact wants you to come in. I think this is all work. Honestly, I think this is all work, and I say that because a couple of weeks ago I did a podcast when I talked about the Bullet Club, Tama Tonga being fed up with them. With Omega and Good Brothers, but then I look on Instagram, I see Tama Tonga liking a picture of Carl Anderson. So I said, this is a work. And next thing you know, the forbidden door is open. So, and I think this is all work, so you can have people talking. Because if that was the case, I'm sure Tony Khan would have suspended him by now. You know what I'm saying? You don't want to work with the other company. It doesn't make sense.
But this is the thing, like I said, it builds excitement. It means we're talking about it as well, which is excellent. Finally, we should say on Twitter, we asked everybody what they thought of Impact Wrestling No Surrender. 21% said awesome, 14% said great, 29% said okay, and 30% overall with good, which is kind of what we agreed on. That is it for today. We have covered a lot of stuff. Like I said, the forbidden door is open. We've checked out
another 2 hours.
As always.
2 hours.
Before we go, our follow of the week is Eli Samuels. Don't forget we're across all social media. Twitter at the WNR Podcast. I'm at the WNR JR. Do you want to plug your stuff?
Yeah, I'm on the Chokeslam Wrestling Reports. You guys can find me on YouTube channel. I have also audio podcasts on the Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, Amazon Podcast. You can find me everywhere. You can also, if you guys are interested, I have a merchandise website called tcwr.veryimpressive.com. That's tcwr.veryimpressive.com. You can find my podcast merchandise. Also on my social media, you can find me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and any other social media you can find me. I'm everywhere. I'm everywhere. So
yeah, it's weird. It's weird enough to say it because the WNR are also on Facebook and Instagram as well. And across all Google platforms, send us an email at WNRpodcast@gmail.com. YouTube, WNR Podcast, where we have latest clips. Podcasts go at the same time on YouTube as do SoundCloud on your phone. Also Spotify, iTunes, where you can download, subscribe, rate, and review there. So that is it. The next episode of the WNR will be NXT TakeOver Vengeance Day. The next time that myself and the Ultimate One are together is at the moment it's March 10th for AEW Revolution.
It's in March 10th or March 6th?
March 7th. March 7th, because it's on a Sunday, is when it's on, and of course it will be released here on the 10th.
Oh, okay, yes.
But what I was thinking about maybe, because seeing how long and how much we go into detail with something like this, maybe the weekend of the actual pay-per-view, we have maybe like a prelude to AEW Revolution where we look at the Dynamite results, but that's something that we can have a look at and maybe discuss before we get
the preview. You want a preview?
Well, you know how we do Dynamite results and all that kind of stuff.
Oh,
rather
yeah,
than sitting there, rather than sitting there for 3.5 hours trying to do it, we might do the Dynamite stuff and then the pay-per-view on its own, maybe.
Okay, yeah. I mean, we'll figure it out, James. You know that. I mean, I like coming to your show, and I'm sure your fans enjoy the conversations we have. I mean, whatever, man. We plan it, whatever. We doing it. You know how that goes. You know.
Well, like I say, we have a lot of contact here, a lot of emails and everything like that, and of course we have a few people on the show, and just between you and me, you are everyone's favourite. They keep telling me that. Don't tell
really?
anybody else. Yeah,
I'm getting very popular in the UK because I know Power TV 4 over there just grabbed my YouTube channel as part of the streaming services. So I'm getting heard out there. So New York City's in UK. So and I appreciate that your fans think that that I'm one of their favorites. I just bring the facts. I'm not gonna sugarcoat anything. And we talk about 45 years of experience watching wrestling at all types of era. So now I'm enjoying this because listen, not only do I get to talk to you about it, me and you connect well when it comes to all this about wrestling. And I mean, it's a good time to be a wrestling podcast and a good a wrestling fan because we don't have to sit down and get tortured for 3 hours on Monday. We could go to other spot and watch other shows and enjoy it.
Without a doubt. I will say quickly as well for anybody, because a couple of people have been trying to get, T-shirts and merchandise from yourself and across America. And at the moment, due to Brexit, the charges on that, the imports, so say something costs $25, they're basically paying like $25 for import duties on that. So at this moment in time, once that gets sorted out, I'm sure you'll see a lot more coming your way as well, if you know what I mean.
Okay, no problem.
Like I said, we appreciate everybody, that listens to us and enjoys the two of us, and of course listens to the WNR and everything like that in between. But that is it. I have been James Rowlands, and I was joined by the Ultimate One. Again, it's a pleasure to have you on board the WNR train.
Always, man. Anytime. I mean, I enjoy these conversations, and it keeps me happy. My 2 hours of happiness. So that I actually get to talk about wrestling with somebody that is in the same level that I am. Yeah, we may not agree with everything, but that's the whole point. We're having a serious discussion like professionals, and and we enjoy it.
Without a doubt, mate. And like I said, it'd be great when you're back towards AEW Revolution. But till then, like I said, I've been James Rowlands. I was joined by the Ultimate One. Thanks for listening, everybody, and bye.
Good night.